My name is Macarena. I'm from Argentina and I've been working here in Germany for several years in the field of infectious diseases. And because of my background, I wanted to choose a project to do in DSR that was connected to that. And I worked with a data set from the World Bank that has information about 217 countries from 1960 to today, and it contains 373 indicators about health, education, population, and employment. So with this data set, I used an unsupervised learning algorithm to cluster the countries or grouping them at different time points in history from 1960 to today. So I found similarities. I did this analysis including all the indicators provided by the data, and I did separate an analysis only focusing on health and infectious diseases because of my background. To do this analysis, I first had to do a dimensionality reduction approach because, as I mentioned, I had 370 features. So I did a principal component analysis, and there I could see that the features mostly contributing to the variability were the ones about population, but there were also many features about health that also contributed to variability. For example, number of physicians per 1,000 inhabitants. Since many things happened in the world from 1960 to today, this had to be reflected in the data set, and in fact it was. So I found, for example, that in Kuwait from 1992 and some years later, there were missing data. If we remember, that was exactly the time after the Gulf War. With this project, I wanted to cluster countries according to similarities, and most importantly, I wanted to come with a visual representation of that, and that's why I did maps. So if we look at the maps, for example, and we focus on 1960, we could see, for example, that the country Gabon in Africa was in a different cluster compared to all the other countries in the continent. And this was probably due that at that time, the country had an economy based on oil, so it had a high GDP per capita compared to the rest of the countries. At that time, also, China and India clustered together, and Western and Eastern Europe clustered in different groups. Remember, that was the time of the Cold War. From 1960 to 1998, for example, Western and Eastern Europe clustered together. And if we move forward to 2015, we can see that China now clusters with Russia, Western Europe, United States, and Australia. I also did the same analysis focusing on infectious diseases like tuberculosis, malaria, and HIV. And I could see the areas in East Africa that most probably have the higher prevalence of HIV. I also did the same analysis with features about education and population. And more generally, I think that this type of analysis could be useful if instead of features of education or health, we use features, for example, about economics like trade or industrial production. In the future, as a data scientist, I would like to improve people's lives. I would like to create awareness of the problems that are going on in our society and also help to solve these problems. I like challenges, I like to learn new things, and I learn quickly. For me, it's very important in my job to have a feeling of purpose. I like to improve people's lives, to work for that, and that's a very important thing to me. That's why I worked for many years in the field of infectious diseases. I like to work with people in international environments. I'm experienced working in European projects. I like to work with data a lot. I like to analyze my data. I like to work with it, and especially I like to communicate my findings to other people.